State for the win. They hand it off to Johnson. Boise State has won the top.
They take a downfield shot. And the catch is made. It's Ryan Williams. Still spinning free. Touchdown. The touchdown in the first possession. Back in the game. And he's loose again. Edwards off and running. Welcome back, Donovan Edwards.
He's going for the corner. He's got it.
This is the Gridiron Uncensored.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Gridiron Uncensored podcast. It's Brendan and Trevor, of course, tonight. And then we have a good friend of ours, Bobby Wilson, coming in to talk some UConn football on our season previews. Bobby, welcome in. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Really, really appreciate it. I'm excited to talk UConn Husky football, something that people that know me know that I'm super passionate about. Yeah,
absolutely. And do you mind telling the listeners just a little bit about yourself if they don't know who you are yet?
Yeah, absolutely. My story into the college football media world is probably a lot different than a lot of people. I played college basketball. I was a college basketball head coach on the women's side at the JUCO and Division III level. When COVID hit, I stepped away from coaching because I had a young son, and I was like, you know what, I want to spend more time with him.
Yeah.
Now I've had 2 daughters since then, and it was the best decision I ever made.
Yeah.
I miss coaching, of course. I love it. It's something I've been very passionate about. I've had a couple offers for coaching jobs even this year at the junior college level, and I've decided to turn them down. It's not a. I miss it, but at the same time, like, I have young kids. I have a 7, 4, and my baby just turned 1 yesterday. So
oh, nice.
So it's
I feel that, man.
Yeah, yep. But when COVID hit, I was kind of like, I always told one of my good friends, I'm like, how cool would it be to get paid to talk about college football? I mean, I played. I was a decent player, or whatever. It's always been fun, the football side of things. But it was just something that it just kind of presented itself. When COVID hit, everybody kind of had time, and I was just like,
yeah,
you know what, I'm gonna try this. And I've kind of stepped away from the podcasting side a little bit on my end, just to spend more time with my kids. And I'm looking into possibly becoming a teacher because I work in a school district. And it's just kind of weighing it back and forth. I mean, I love doing this. It's something I really, really enjoy.
Yeah.
One of the other things that kind of came about with this whole process is, like, I wanted to attend a game at every FBS stadium. It's a goal of mine. It's obviously going to take a long time. I got little kids, so it's going to take a while, but it's so much fun doing it. And that's not going to stop anytime soon.
No. Well, hey, I mean, we love talking football, and that's kind of Trevor and Blake and I, our other, co-host. We always talk football. We've loved it. We've grown up, just loving college football. And we were like, hey, you know what? Let's just do it one day. I think it was a week and a half before the season. It was like,
we just like, you know what? We love talking about it. We're constantly talking about it to each other. I'm like, well, let's just start recording it.
Let's just throw it out there and see what happens.
Right.
So.
And I think I started the research, and then Brendan jumped in and started researching certain other things, and then Blake jumped in. It just took off from there.
Yep.
It's
and now we're 2 years in. We're what, 2 years in now?
Yeah. So it's been cool,
man.
but I hear you on stepping away from stuff, and even doing podcasts, it takes a lot of effort and research, and it's to do it right. So I definitely understand it, and again, that's why we appreciate you coming on. I know you're busy.
Absolutely.
So let's get down to it, guys, and let's talk some UConn football, because we did our group of 5 previews, kind of highlighting some of the teams that we thought have the best chance to contend for their conference titles, but also for the college football playoff. And now we're kind of moving into, independent side, into the Power 4. And UConn's one that I just feel like people aren't talking about enough, or they're maybe not paying attention enough to. When you look at, where they left off in 2024, it was a really good season at 9-4. Really a tale of close losses to Duke was a tight one. The Syracuse game was tight. even Wake Forest. So you had all those that were just hanging on an edge. Obviously, the first one to Maryland was like, oh, hey, hold on now. But the rest of it, I mean, really nice. You go on, you whoop Buffalo, you take down Georgia State, take down UMass, and then a nice win against North Carolina in the bowl game. Bobby, what do you think about the 2024 season and, maybe how it propels them into this upcoming year?
Well, I don't necessarily like talking about the Maryland game, obviously.
Yeah.
That was it was on my birthday too, but that is what it is. But that game was one of those things where it's just nothing could go right, and it just spiraled out of control. As a former player and coach, I mean, I've been in that situation. I get it, where it just seems like everything that you try just isn't working.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of UConn fans and just football fans in general probably looked at that and like, oh crap, here we go again. Because we were coming off a season in 2023 where we didn't live up to expectations at all.
Mm-hmm.
So then so then a lot of people were questioning like, oh, what's going on here? What are we doing? We had some questions at the quarterback position and the like. And then we came back, had a good showing against the FCS opponent we played. Then the Duke game, that's where things really turned, because you could tell that we at least belonged on the field with them. We were playing with them. And I mean, I understand that Duke's not a powerhouse, but for UConn football and for people that understand what UConn football has been through, that is an important step. And I know the coaches and players are never ever going to go for moral victories and the like, but that was an important aspect there for us. And yes, we ended up losing the other ACC games that we played, but we were very close in those games. That's why that North Carolina game and the bowl game was so important to us to be able to get that one. And then we were able to beat.
Made me so happy.
Yes, we beat a good amount of G5 teams, obviously, and I think people are gonna kind of take shots at that, whatever it may be. But it's like Buffalo ended up being a pretty good football team, and we handled our business against them.
Yeah, I'd say so. 47-3.
Yes. I mean, we played fantastic. That was one of those games where everything was going right. But again, I think the way that we ended the season, getting a win against North Carolina, I understand that they had guys opt out, the coaching situation, all this and that. But that is such an important step for the UConn football program that it can't be taken lightly, no matter what the situation was.
No doubt. And that we're talking about Jim Mora, coaching staff. I mean, he's really done a great job, I think, turning it back around, getting things going again. Trev, looking at the coaching stuff, was there any other major things that changes that happened? Looking up, I didn't see many, but
there wasn't a ton. I mean, they brought in Price Tracy, I think it is, as the passing game coordinator, which I think is probably a good addition, and also the quarterback's coach. Ted, they made some other mentions of some senior offensive analysts and things like that, which I think are all great additions, because at the end of the day, you can never have too many eyes on and for analyzing other teams' defense and your own team's offense and defense and your own. Jim Mora, he does have a track record of being able to put together decent coaching staffs. I mean, going all the way back to when he was in the NFL. Those coaching staffs were still very decent and did very well. So I like what he's putting together. They extended Jim Mora all the way through 2028, so that's good. Get some continuity there. So hopefully they can not have so much turnover and start having a core group of coaches stick together for more than a 2-year span.
Yeah, Bobby, what do you see on the coaching staff side, insight on it?
I think the continuity that you were speaking of, Trevor, is just such a huge thing for our program, for the position that we're in as an independent, trying to get to that next level. I mean, I think everybody understands what UConn is striving to get to from a power conference perspective. And I think obviously having Jim Mora helps. I mean, people know who Jim Mora is I mean, even if you're a casual college football fan, you know who Jim Mora is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
of what he did in the NFL, what his father did. I mean, he's a name that everybody knows.
The more a name in general carries a lot of weight in the football world.
Absolutely. I think the most important thing that we were able to do this offseason, though, is keep our defensive coordinator, Matt Brock. He's a superstar in the making, I feel like. The energy that he brings to our defense took us to another level last season. I was just so impressed by what he was able to do. And I think he's going to be a great head coach in the years to come. And I know a lot of Husky fans were a little worried that somebody was going to come pick him up, one of the power conference teams, just because what he did with our defense last year. We had some talented guys, we did, but his presence was just fantastic. Gordon Samus as an OC, some people question the things that he does. Our offense prior to that, I have a great relationship with the previous offensive coordinator, so I don't want to talk poorly of Nick Charlton.
Sure.
But there were some things that needed to be changed, and I think Coach Samus came in and did a very good job with everything. He's a offensive lineman at heart. He's done a great job with our offensive line. We've had multiple years in a row with an offensive lineman get drafted now, and we've put other guys from the line into the pros, whether it be the NFL or the Canadian Football League. So he's done a great job with that, and we can lean on the running game. He does a very, very good job with that. But even last year, we saw we got some guys that we can get the ball to outside too.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I really think that this Tracy guy with the passing game coordinator, quarterbacks coach, I mean, his pedigree's pretty nice coming from. I mean, he was the assistant to Kirby Smart, and he was the tight ends coach at Georgia for since 2022. And if anyone knows Georgia, you know what kind of tight ends they put out. So, and he was instrumental in doing that. So he was a part of their 15-0 season. I think he is a huge get for Jim Mora. And just my personal thought is that he's probably the OC in waiting. Honestly, he will probably he potentially. I mean, just saying, if the wheels fall off or something, I could see him taking over the reins on the offensive side of the ball potentially.
Yeah, I mean, you never know what's going to happen, but
possible.
He's definitely got good. You mentioned pedigree and where he's come from, and we've seen Georgia coaches go on, to do well, on their own front. But yeah, so I like the staff that they have. I think Mora's done a good job, like you mentioned, Tracy coming in, keeping the defensive coordinator so important with what we saw in the 2024 season from UConn, and I guess moving on, we can talk some portal. Because defense, you lost some players, but you also brought in. I honestly, looking at this class, it's not highly ranked, in the 24/7 realm, but it's pretty nice. I like a lot of the additions that UConn brought in. Guys, offensive line, Parnham and Chan coming in from Notre Dame, Walker as well, and then you've got Carroll Jackson on the D line, Jones, Marquise Black, and then a couple of safeties coming in, Mills from Penn State. That might be a guy that jumps in pretty soon. If not, they expect him to be right there. What do you guys think portal wise? How do you feel about it?
I love it. They killed it. Jim Mora killed it. They killed it. Yeah. Just looking down this and just obviously you kind of have to put this through a lens of we're not to be any sort of disrespectful, but we're talking about UConn. UConn's putting together a better transfer portal than some Power 4 conferences I've already looked at this offseason. And it's impressive. It's very impressive. I mean, we're talking about, I was looking at this kid right before we came on, for a safety coming from Mississippi State. He's basically he enrolled and then he transferred at the same time, immediately. So I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, he's starting out as a freshman with UConn as a 4-star, which is impressive, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be very much mistaken. I can't remember. I'm trying to find his info here. But it's
some of it's hard to find now, especially with committing.
He's a senior transfer. My bad. No. But
Well,
they don't have him
impressive
ranked as a
thing-
transfer either, so that's weird. So okay, I don't know, 247 screwing me up. Whatever.
No worries.
The impressive thing with him
yeah.
is that like he was part of Matt Brock when Matt Brock was at Mississippi State, and he came over with him now to UConn.
Yeah.
You're talking about Kobe Albert, correct?
Kobe Albert, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I just think that they put together a decent transfer portal. I mean, I love the safety coming over from Wisconsin too, Latu.
Yeah.
I watched a little bit of video on him just because his name intrigued me, so I watched the video. He looks pretty darn impressive at 6'2", 208. I love what they're doing, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think they're going to be formidable on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I agree. Bobby, what do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, we needed to hit the defensive side hard because we lost so much due to graduation and guys run out of eligibility.
Yeah.
We sent a couple of guys like safety Malik Dixon Williams is on the LA Rams roster heading into training camp, so that's awesome for us. Durante Jones was a part of our team the past handful of years, and now he's going to be a part of the coaching staff. So it's really cool to see some of those guys get the opportunity that they've earned to the next level or coaching or wherever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree. Like you look at especially those safeties like Kobe Albert from Mississippi State, like we were talking about, and then Tyrese Mills from Penn State. Those guys, I think, can really come in pretty early and step in and do some really good stuff for us. We had another really good linebacker, Tyquan King from Temple, who played against us last year, had a fantastic game against us when Temple played UConn.
Yeah.
He's first team all AAC, so that's a huge pickup there. He should step in right away. As we lost our top two linebackers from last year,
position of need
three,
for
really.
sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
we've added some really good wide receivers too.
Yeah, and that's another one that we'll talk about the offense. You help out Sky Bell out there, and that's huge to bring those guys in, out wide. And really, I guess we mentioned the portal. It's a really nice class. It was in the 80s, ranking wise from 24/7. But again, a lot of players that they needed position wise, offensive line, defensive line. You mentioned linebacker. So they went out, they hit the positions of need to fill the holes and to keep them churning. And we look at the offense. Running back wise, I think it's still going to be strong. You mentioned that to me, Bobby, and our message thread. Again, what do you see on the offensive side here? I've seen maybe a little bit about a quarterback battle, but I don't think there is one. What are you feeling?
Well, I'll hit the running back side first because that's the part that UConn fans should be really, really excited about. We got some guys in there that are really, really talented. We lose Darrell Robinson to Auburn. Good for him. Congratulations to him that he's able to do that. Hope he does well there. But we return some really, really talented guys. Cam Edwards is a local guy. He's from Connecticut. Victor Rosa is a local guy. He's from Connecticut. Mel Brown entered the portal, decided to come back. He had a very good game against North Carolina in the bowl game. He's super fast.
He is.
I'm really, really excited about that group of guys that we have back there behind an offensive line that loses 3 studs to the professional level. Chase Lunt got drafted, but at the same time, like this is the offensive line is something I don't worry about because Coach Samus has done such a good job with it. And the guys that we've added from the portal on the offensive line have great starting experience. So I'm not worried about the O line. Then to hit on the quarterback position, Joe Fagiano has tons of experience. We've seen him play for a couple years now, and the poise he brings, and he's just level. He's always here. It's never up and down. He's always just poised and in control. And as a former coach, that's something I really appreciate from a player because you know what you're going to get from him. Even when he does make a mistake, it's not going to rattle him or phase him.
No doubt.
Nick Evers, he has more of some of the tools that you might like out of your quarterback. He can make a lot of difficult throws. He can move well, but he still has to learn the position a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I know that he was brought in from Oklahoma, then Wisconsin, brought into UConn, given a good amount of NIL, but at the same time, the team really rallied around Joe,
Yeah.
and we saw what happened last year as things progressed through the season. It was just he was the right guy to go with. Plus, Nick was dealing with a concussion. You
Mm-hmm.
never want to rush those things. I know we were playing him, not playing him. It was one of those things where it's like, okay, it's kind of, let's just go with the guy who one has a hot hand in Joe, and the guy was just playing better too. So
Yeah.
I really feel going into this season, like we have a guy that we know we can trust in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might not do like the super wow things that excite people,
Yeah.
but at the same time, we got guys at the skill positions that can do those things. Joe does everything else that we need him to do to win football
Absolutely. And
Protect the
that's
ball. That's
exactly
it. Just
games.
protect the ball.
Yes, exactly.
the flashy stuff is great at times, like that's cool, but you need somebody. People always put down the term, game manager, and they talk it down like, oh, it's a horrible thing. I want to see somebody that can control the clock, can control the
Hmm.
ball, make the crucial plays on third down.
Has game awareness at all times. You gotta have that too.
And I've watched
Yeah.
some of the interviews from Joe, like coming out of spring, and you mentioned just his poise, and it just seems like his composure is just there, like at all times.
Hmm.
He's
Hmm.
got just good football answers. He keeps it straightforward, and then you look at his stats: 20 touchdown, 4 interception ratio. That's pretty solid.
Hmm.
I know he's had injury issues in the past, but I mean, looking at it, I think he's done really well, even against the Syracuse game. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. You guys had to throw a lot. You were up almost 50 passes, but still, he kept the ball out of the opponent's hands. He didn't turn it over. So those are things that you want to see, and that's why I feel like he's the guy going forward. I've seen people talk about it online. That there might be a battle. To me, it just seems cut and dry. Like, hey, he's it.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, and
Yeah, no,
Trev,
I agree.
yeah. So outside of that, you go to the wide receiver position. We talk Sky Bell. Everybody should know him by now. If you don't, you're probably sleeping under a rock. But then, like you mentioned, bringing in a couple of guys from the portal. Looking at Burton and Parker are guys coming in on the outside. And then also you already have a good tight end, I think. We know him from
Mhm.
Michigan. Louis Hansen coming, I think he's got a good body on him. He's got good hands. 4 touchdowns last year, I think it was. So
Yep.
you already have weapons, and now you pair that with that running game and Joe coming in and being, I think, the guy. That's going to be a dangerous offense.
Yep, and then not to mention they added another tight end with he's a redshirt sophomore out of NC State, and Javante Vereen.
Yeah,
He's a little more of a lean tight end, whereas more of a, I guess you could say, a hybrid between a tight end and a wide receiver, depending. But yeah, that's a good one. That might be a good one as well, where it could be a flex position for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think this offense is going to be dangerous, and like you mentioned, Bobby, offensive line there has been always solid. So I don't worry about that on my end, and that's another reason we're talking about UConn in this team's they've got potential to do really well offensively. Defensively, though, we mentioned lost some players, took some hits there, but you still plugged it pretty nice, defensive line wise and everything else. What are you seeing on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, like you said, I mean, we have some big holes to fill. We do, but we've done a very solid job in the portal, getting guys who can come in and fill those needs, like the couple linebackers that we've mentioned. We added another guy from BYU recently who has plenty of starting experience as well, and just a huge addition there. I know a lot of people. I shouldn't say a lot of people, but I know there's some question marks about the defensive line because we lost so much. But we've added a good amount from the portal. But that's going to be a position where we need to see it before we
Yeah,
can kind of
for sure.
put something out there. I'm very confident in the secondary, the safeties that we've added. I like our corners. The linebackers we added are very talented. And the number one thing is having Matt Brock, and I trust that he's gonna put our guys in the right place to have success.
Yeah, I was gonna say, returning both safeties return, and then you had some young guys from that had played last year as well that have already gotten reps to plus up, what's already brought in from the portal. So to me, the back end seems pretty like a solid. There's no question there. It's people from the outside looking in, that aren't UConn fans that don't know. They're like, well, they lost too much up front. That to me, again, they're between the defensive coordinator and who the guys are that are coming in to plug. It maybe take a couple of weeks for them to gel, but some of them have already been there. They've already been working. So it's, to me, I just another one of those instances. I trust the coaching staff here to get them game ready and to, not be like some of the other teams that go out and go so heavy in the portal. And then there's no cohesion. There's no camaraderie or, the culture just doesn't feel right. This one, UConn does not have that feel to me at all. It feels good culture. These guys are going to be ready to go. So that's another, we talk about UConn here. I think they have a great chance to make a run. Trev, what do you think? Anything defensive side of the ball?
Look, I've said it. I said it last year. I've said it offline. All of college football revolves around if you can have a solid offense and defensive line.
Yeah.
If you have a solid offensive and defensive line, you give yourself a good opportunity to win ball games. And absolutely. I like the additions they made to the defensive line. I like the kid that they brought in from Nebraska, Vincent Carroll Jackson, 265, 290. They brought the other kid was 308. Like these guys are some big guys to anchor that defensive line, and then they got some edge rushers that can hopefully put some pressure on the quarterback. Because at the end of the day, no matter what team we're talking about, if you put the cornerbacks on an island for too long, these wide receivers, no matter what team we're talking about, they're going to be able to find a way to get open for their quarterback. Absolutely. So, I mean, it's all about being able to put pressure, get a hand in the face of the quarterback. And I think that they've given themselves a good opportunity to develop a great defensive line core group of guys this season.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I guess let's look at this 2025 schedule. I've been trying to look again. Over-unders hard to come by right now, it seems. Some were saying around 8 is what they would throw at, but that's not official from a sports book. So looking at it, I think they hit that over. Bobby, what are you feeling on it? Obviously, you got to circle Syracuse. I would circle Buffalo, from our time talking about the MAC, and then of course Boston College, Duke. What do you see?
I agree with you. I mean, I think 8 is a very it should be the benchmark. It should be like what we strive. We need to strive to go over that, obviously. But I think 8 is the point where we say like, okay, we had a solid year. We did what we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
I'm also intrigued by that Buffalo game as well because we're probably going to be going against Taquan Roberson, who is a former UConn starting quarterback. So I think that's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
There. But again, it's going to come down to those power conference games against Syracuse, Duke. Like, how are we BC? How are we going to fare against those teams? We beat BC recently, a couple years ago, at home. Can we go up there and get a win?
Yeah.
Syracuse, I think we had a good showing against them last year.
Yeah.
They lost a lot. I think playing them early, week 2, coming off, I think they play Tennessee week 1.
Yeah.
They could. I mean, we'll see what Tennessee brings to the table. But obviously, they're an SEC opponent, so maybe they get smacked around a little bit.
Yeah,
we can go up there and maybe get it done. I think the Duke game, being at home in November, I think that's a game that we really need to get.
Yeah, I agree.
I think with how things transpired last year against them, we could have got them last year. I think this is one you don't want to say it's a must win, but I think it's about as close as we can get to that because that would be an important victory for us.
Oh yeah, and even depending on how the rest of the schedule's looking, by the time you get there, you got Air Force waiting right behind them. So that's you can't have a letdown game like after say you get a big win against Duke, you got to stay up for Air Force and then closing at Florida Atlantic. Trev, what do you think? What are you circling?
So outside of having to have a really strong start to your season, which basically means that you have to go into Syracuse and try and beat them. If they are able to do that, I think that the schedule lines up nicely for them.
Yeah.
Until you get to Boston College, where you have a back-to-back away game, where you go to Chestnut Hill, and then you have to turn around and go to Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
Now there's a big opportunity here for if they do win against BC, there's a huge opportunity for Rice to catch them snoozing or potentially having a little bit of a hangover because BC is a big win no matter which way you slice it, because that's about the halfway point, give or take. And if they're going into an undefeated season and they take down BC, then you run the risk of some of these young guys. I mean, it's impossible to control that forward thinking that some young athletes do, where they just want to look forward and they're like, oh my God, if we get to this point, we got Duke in a couple weeks. Well, let's not forget that even though UAB is on their way out of not even having a program, and Rice tends to have a decent squad most of the time.
Yeah.
And going from away to away and not having a home game in between can throw some teams off.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to be careful if you're UConn.
I just think that's a really important little 2-game stretch there, Boston College and Rice, right there in the middle of the schedule.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
I think another important thing with our schedule is like UConn, we always talk about we need to win the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
So we getting Syracuse would be huge. Delaware was a long-time rival from the Yankee Conference days. BC would be huge. I mean, Buffalo is the Northeast program, so it's like getting those wins is really, really important to UConn.
Oh yeah, I mean recruiting and everything else. That's just for the momentum, the feel of the program. You got to have those. And people have mentioned Delaware too as someone to really watch. This their first year in the FBS. Some teams are going to take them lightly. We saw it last year with Kennesaw beating I can't remember who it is right now, but they caught up on it. It was a big upset. So you gotta be ready for all these teams week to week. But I think UConn's got a squad that people don't sleep on them. If you're from the outside like us looking in, it's somebody you need to watch this team and see what Jim Mora does with them. Has anything else closing out, Bobby? Anything else about the squad that you feel excited about or want to mention before we close out today?
Well, I just want people to just understand, like UConn football. Yes, that there's the thought out there in the national perspective that UConn football is just an afterthought and a laughing stock and whatnot. But that's not the case. On my podcast that I had, me and my co-host that I would do a weekly UConn football show with, Pete Callen, he went down and did some deep research into UConn and producing draft picks. And they'd produce more draft picks than almost all of the Big 12.
Wow.
So it's something that a lot of people look at UConn football and they just think like, no, they're UConn, they're not that good.
Yeah.
We played in a BCS bowl game. We won the Big East. We did a lot of really good things. Yes, there was a stretch in the mid-late 2010s into the early 2020s where it was very bleak and ugly.
Yeah.
But they're coming out of that. They're rising from the ashes, let's say. And this program has really turned a corner. Jim Mora has done a fantastic job with this football team and with this program.
No doubt.
And they're a program that's on the rise.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And I mean, the transfer portal just by itself for the smaller teams, it levels the playing field a little bit. You can have the opportunity to have some of these talented athletes for their last year or something, or their senior transfer, 5th year transfer or something like that.
Yeah, I agree, and I know it hits both sides. You know, you take losses, but you also get guys that instead of sitting behind where they've been waiting for a couple years, like we used to see with the talent hoarding.
Yep.
Now these guys are like, hey, I got opportunities elsewhere. I'm a head over there, and you see some of these teams like we talked Texas State last year, or whoever.
Yep.
They get great opportunities and can make a push for it. So. We'll see how UConn does this season. I again think it's somebody to watch, and hopefully have a great year. And I'm looking forward to that Syracuse game right off the bat. I want to see what this team's about.
That's right.
So you guys that if you're not UConn fan, you don't know Bobby, go follow him on Twitter. TNT College Football. Bobby, anywhere else that I know you said you kind of take a step back? Is there anywhere else that they can find you or follow you at?
I'm still pretty active on there. I still do a good amount of stuff. I'm going to be every year. I always do a breakdown series of all the FBS college football programs. It's not going to be as extensive this year as it's been in the past. In the past, I did position by position, like it was very detailed. I mean, I'm going to still do a good job with it, but I just don't want to. I just don't have the time to do as much as I used to with it. But still, people can look forward to that. It does. It's doing 136 teams is rough.
Yeah, it is, and it takes a lot of, and not a lot of people do it. And so if you're a college football fan, please go follow him and hit him up on Twitter or X, whatever you guys want to call it. So Bobby, we appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much, and
thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Learn a little something about UConn.
Thanks, guys.
All right, y'all take care.
All right, take care now.